Hi students, I hope you people have been studying really well. So in today's video we're going to talk about a new topic which is called as iterative computation, because we're going to talk about not only the term iteration, but at the same time we're going to talk about the two different commands which will be used for the iteration. So what example, before we start with the example, first thing is we need to understand what an iteration is. See, iteration is basically nothing but when we are having the series of instructions and we want those series of instructions to be repeated again and again, that's actually called as the iteration. And for doing that, we basically have two different options which are given to us by Python. One is called as a for loop and the other one is definitely called as a while loop. Okay, and depending upon the question and the programs, we're going to use loops. So for accomplishing the iteration, we basically use loops, where a loop is nothing but when you're trying to repeat some commands again and again, one after the other. So let's try to understand what a for loop is. A for loop is nothing but a loop where we require a variable which does the counting for us, and we tell that how many number of times you need to count so that you can repeat the task. If I give you an example, to write the name CS Bhasha say 10 times, that means you're going to start in your mind the counting from 1, and then you say, okay, let me do it second time, then third time, and then fourth time, and you will go till 10, which means you're repeating the printing part of CS Bhasha how many times? 10 times, where you're starting the counting from 1 and you're going till 10. Therefore, you have a counter where you start and you use a range function. You use a range function to tell the start and the end and the step value. Okay, why do we need a step value? This is what I'll just going to tell you. Now, for example, if I'm just saying print, and if I'm saying print CS Bhasha, this is printing the result only once. What if I want to print it 2 times? I'll copy paste the statement. What if I want to print it 3 times? Okay, you'll say, ma'am, we'll copy paste the statement. But what if I tell you to print it 1000 times? You will not going to copy paste it all the time, right? So what you do is you need a counter for printing it. So what do you say? You write for, then you take a variable I, and then you say in range. Now range is a function where you will define what is the starting value of the counting, because see, it all depends upon the question. If I want to count, don't want to start my counting from 1, but if I would like to start my counting from 2, then I won't end at 10, I will end it at 11, because when you're starting from 2, when you're starting from 1, you will end at 10. When you're starting your counting from 2, you will end at 11. When you're starting your counting from 3, you will end at 12, and so on. So you need a starting number, comma, you need an ending number. Now here it is an important task. The ending number should always be with +1, because your interpreter does not count till the end, it counts till less than n, which means if I want to count till 10, I have to give it to this value as 11, because it says after 1, you till the time 1 is less than 11. So that means 10 has to be included in less than 11. If you write less than 10, that means it will going to start the counting from 1 and it will going to end the counting till 9, because 10 is not less than 10 but 9 is less than 10. Therefore, it has to be +1. That's one thing. The second thing is step is 1. Step means after 1, do I want 1? 1 plus 1 as 2, or do I want to jump to 3? Similarly, after 2, what do I want as the next number? 3. So, after 1 it is 2, after 2 it is 3, after 3 it is 4, which means every time you are adding with one value. So that's called as a step value. I am again repeating, this is the starting value, this is the ending value, and this is the step value. So when I print right over there, and if I put a colon sign just over there, and if I execute this program, and if I say F5, you will see CS Bhasha is getting printed 10 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. If I would have written 10 over there, then I would have seen that CS Bhasha would have got printed how many times? It would have got printed only 9 times. I hope the first part is clear to all of you. So here if I just see this is the for loop. And you are supposed to remember that when exactly are we supposed to use a for loop? When we actually know the number of iterations. If we know that I have to execute my program the specific number of times, I have to use the for loop. And always remember, with for loop you can never ever go into an infinite loop. What I mean by infinite loop is that suppose I by mistake start with 1. So here the starting value is 1. What is my ending value? Suppose my ending value is minus 11. So here 1, I keep on adding it. So after 1 it will become 2, after 2 it will become 3, but it will never ever going to be less than minus 11, which means my loop should going to go in the infinite way. And if I try to execute this program, you can see it will never going to execute it, because it is the Python interpreter that way is smarter. So if it's smarter, it simply indicates that if you're trying to give the values of the range function in a manner which can land up into a situation where you can go into a loop which never stops, then it is not possible with for loop. Always remember. The next thing that you need to remember about for loop is all these three values should be integer. If you're trying to have any other value as a string value, or you're trying to have a floating point value, you will always going to get a syntax error. I'll show you an example. If I say 1.0, okay, now I try to execute this program. Just see, type error is there which says float object cannot be interpreted as integer. So all the three values of a range function must be an integer. The starting value, the ending value, and the step value. Now comes another situation. What if I am only giving some values and I'm not giving all? I mean, is it compulsory for me to give the starting value as well as the ending value as well as the step value? So children, first you should understand that if I want to provide, let me just not write C as Bhasha, let me write I first. So I'll just take few things with you. Now if I try to execute it, I will see that I have my answer from 1 to 10. You can see that very easily, because 1 to 10 is what I'm printing. What if I use 2 over there? So after 1, I don't want to print 2, because 1 plus 2 will make it 3. 3 plus further 2 will make it 5. So if I try to execute my program, children, you will see my answer will be 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. Similarly, if I would like to execute my program and start with 0, I will see that my starting number is 0, and this time I will see the even numbers. Okay, so this is the jump. Now first of all, we'll just try and do certain experiment with this one. Suppose I am not writing anything, will my program going to execute? You are supposed to remember that there is one value which is definitely compulsory, and that is called as the end value. So if you're not giving a value, you will going to see an error. Now let's see, what if I'm just giving one value? So just remember, when you're only providing one value, that value is always taken as the end value. So what is the value of start by default? So always remember, start by default is always 0 if you're not providing, and step if you're not providing is by default 1, which means the range function will be interpreted as 0, 5, 1. Just remember this. Now if you try to execute your program, you will see the answer 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Suppose you're trying to, I'm copy pasting the whole thing again so that it is there on your screen for some time. Now suppose if I'm just saying 1, I'm saying 3, 5. Okay, 3, 5. So always remember, if you're providing two values, then the first value is always taken as the starting value, and the second value is taken as the ending value. So here end is equal to 5, and here step is taken as which one? So let me just scroll this little bit this side so that you're able to see the answer. So here my starting value is 3, ending is 5, and the step value is 1. So if I try to execute my program, you will be able to see, I'm going to see, dekho bache, this part is the beginning part. Okay, so this one, so it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is something else. So this is, that means the answer for the second for loop is 3 and 4, and that's how it will going to get executed. So I hope you've understood what I'm trying to tell you. But we're going to do again these examples in just a while. Let me just quickly tell you what a for loop is, because for loop will be dealt in detail in after we are done with the, while loop will be done in detail after we are done with the for loop. So for loop is having this kind of syntax. While loop has a different syntax, where a while loop is actually used in a case where, sometimes we are not very sure of the input. It could be have a floating point input, it can have a string value, it can have a situation where the loop can go into an infinite case. So this part we will going to do in detail. So just remember, we usually use a while loop when we aren't sure of the number of iterations. But remember, with for loop, we always use when we are definitely sure of the number of iterations. So here there are certain cases I need to tell you. Remember, with for loop, there is no scope of loop going into an infinite case. I have just shown you that case. But apart from that, there are few more things that you need to remember apart from the syntax. Syntax I've just told you. For the variable or the object, the Python object or a counter is used with the range function, which has starting, ending and step value, and then the statements to be executed. So apart from this important thing that the loop can never go into an infinite case, the other important things are start and the step values are always optional. Second, if the value start is not provided, it is taken as 0. I've just shown you that. Similarly, if the step is not provided, it is taken as 1. Again, that has been shown in the previous example. Now, the most important thing is only integer values are allowed in the range function. So if you try to use a floating point also, we have seen that it will going to generate some kind of error. So let's see a few examples using the for loop. If suppose I would like to print the first n numbers, first thing that I need to know is I am supposed to take the number n, and children, remember I just told you this has to be plus 1, the ending number. So if I want n to be included, start with 1, go till n plus 1 with the step value 1. So you will going to see the answer. Okay, so you will be seeing, suppose n is 5, you will be seeing the answer because n is equal to space. So secondly, if I would like to take a number n and I would like to print it from 1 to n, then what will going to happen? So this example also we have taken. Remember, it will be from 1 to 4 because it is always still less than n. Suppose we are not taking the starting value, but we are taking only the ending value and the step value. What will going to happen? I hope you remember, if there is no starting value, the starting value is always 0. Therefore, my answer will be from 0 to 5. Okay, let's talk about a factorial of a number. Now, what is a factorial? A factorial is nothing but the product of all the numbers from 1 till n. Suppose n is 5. So, what will be the factorial of a number 5? It will be 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. Okay, so let's take a case where I have a number n. I've taken p is equal to 1. Now just remember that the number of times my loop will going to get executed will be 1 to n plus 1. Now I hope you know why it is n plus 1, why not n? Because it has to be less than n plus 1, where n has to be included. So what are you exactly doing? You're basically finding the product. Therefore p is equal to p into I, and hence you will going to get the answer of p, which is 24, suppose n, because what is 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, that comes out to be 24. Suppose we have another question, find the power of x to the power of y, which means you're multiplying x how many times? You're multiplying x y times. Therefore, your loop should start from 1, go till y plus 1 times, and keep on multiplying it with the value of x, and hence you're printing this answer like this. So it's 2 to the power of 3 that you're calculating. Let's see a few more examples. Find the sum of the number n numbers. So sum में क्या करना है? सिर्फ यहाँ पे plus sign लगा देना, but the initial value will be 0. So you're basically having, okay, now this question is, I think, written wrongly. The question is actually where you are having a string and we are trying to show that using a for loop you can, so I think this question can be done by you, how to find the sum of n numbers. Now this is an example which actually shows that what if I have a string. We have done strings, so if you haven't seen the the string cases, please refer to my video on strings. You will be able to understand. Now this is very important. If you notice, I have not used the range function. I can use a range function, but I can directly access, because string is also an iterable object, and I can access each element of a string one by one from this case. So if n is open, then I will, the first value of I will be O, then the second value of I will be P, then the third value of I will be E, and the fourth value of I will be N, because string is an iterable object. Therefore, after every character I will see a hash sign, right? Similarly, if I would like to print using the range function, I have to use the len function also to find how many letters are there in the string. Okay, so if there are 4 letters, my starting value will be 0. As you know, when we are not giving the starting value, my ending value will be 4 and the step value will be 1, and this is how we will going to use this. Okay, so that's something which is again interesting. Now I tell you one very interesting thing in for loop. With for you can also use else. Yes, you can use else, for those who don't know. See, else is basically required when sometimes we need to break the for loop in between. When we break the loop and there is a situation comes where we don't want the loop to get executed for all cases, then this part will not be executed. So else part is having a restriction. It will only going to get executed for only those cases of for where for is completed without any break statement. I'll give you an example. So look at this case. Just see else. There is no if. Please don't confuse it with if. Okay. So you have for I in range 1, 6, 1, print I. What are you be trying to do? We are trying to execute the value of I from 1 to 5. So 1 to 5 is there. That means my for loop will going to get executed every time. So if it is getting executed every time, then else will definitely be executed. So what will be my answer? Children, my answer will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it will automatically come to else part and program over will also be seen. But what if I don't want this else to be there? So before that, just recall this else part after the loop is only and only executed because all the iterations of this for loop were completed. Now what if I take another case? Just see, if I am saying that if I mod 3 is equal to 0, then you break the loop. Break the loop means don't complete the rest of the iterations. So it was supposed to complete how many iterations? 5 iterations. But the moment it reaches the third one, so I got printed as 1, then I got printed as 2, then I got printed, I did not get printed as 3, because the moment third case came, it was forced to break the loop. So when the loop was broken, it did not execute the else part, and you will not going to see that the program got over. So whenever your program is broken in between, the loop is broken in between, you will not going to see the else part getting executed. So just remember that the else part after the loop will never be executed when the loop is interrupted in between, when the loop is not completed. So just remember a case where the else part can be used and the else part cannot be used. So I think this was interesting for you. So if you've understood, children, if you have more questions on for else, please do write, do ask me. I'll definitely try to answer. In my next video, I will be doing in detail the for loop. Okay, so if you've liked the video, please don't forget to share and subscribe, and don't forget to press the like button also. Have a lovely day, children.